Do you know how brutal the Japanese Unit 731 was? During World War II, in order to achieve victory, they developed a biochemical drug, forcibly injected it into prisoners of war, to alter the cells in their bodies, turning them into immortal armored warriors. Until Japan was defeated and surrendered, Unit 731 has just halted its experiments. But they kept the experimental results in the lab. Pay attention, this man hanging on the wall was injected with that biochemical drug while he was alive. It's been over 70 years now, his body still hasn't decomposed. And that's not all. There are also rumors that, when Japan panicked and surrendered, a large amount of gold that couldn't be taken away was hidden on a small island in Indonesia. Until 70 years later, some militia members were resting in the forest. This man with the hat followed a trail into the woods to relieve himself. Suddenly, he was attracted by a mysterious object at his feet. He picked it up to take a closer look. It's something that looks like a metal clamp. The man looks around. He wants to learn more about the origin of this item. After looking around, he spots a mysterious cave. The man enters and takes out a lighter to observe the surroundings inside. But suddenly, the ground beneath his feet sinks. The man, frightened, grabs his gun, ready to defend himself. But the next few seconds, very quickly, news about the discovery of a mine on the island spread. Rumor has it that there are many treasures left behind by the Japanese army. To find those treasures, a wealthy curly-haired guy brought his girlfriend, formed a small group of 8 people, and came to this island to hunt for treasure. There are 4 mercenaries protecting them, a construction engineer named Charlie, and May, who is knowledgeable about history. They quickly found a door on the island. When the mercenary Tony broke it open, a foul odor suddenly came out from inside the mine. But to ensure safety, Charlie decided to go into the mine to investigate. Let's explore the interior first. The others set up camp outside, ready to wait. David couldn't stand the silence. He wanted to make love to his girlfriend, but suddenly, a bullet grazed David's cheek. While David was still confused, a barrage of gunfire erupted. They quickly found a place to hide and started to fight back. But the enemy, positioned on higher ground, had the terrain advantage. They quickly found themselves at a disadvantage. It turns out that the local militia had discovered them. In their own territory, they would never let anyone steal the treasure. Under the opponent's heavy fire, they could only retreat into the mine, but a grenade was also thrown in. After a loud explosion, the entrance to the bunker was blocked. The last mercenary to enter was severely wounded. To find a new exit, they had no choice but to go deeper into the mine. Charlie took the lead. The others groped their way behind. They hadn't gone far when they found a wooden bridge. Everyone cautiously stepped onto the bridge. The bridge creaked, as if it would collapse any second. When they were halfway across, the lights around them suddenly turned on. A Japanese song started playing. After a moment, the sound suddenly stopped. The group, still bewildered, continued forward. Crossing the bridge, they discovered a small wooden door. Mercenary Tony kicked the door open. Inside, they found a small storage shed. It was used to store daily necessities. There are also many other large and small bottles placed on the metal shelf. Following the light of the flashlight, a gas mask suddenly startled Captain Kevin, causing him to fire his gun. Tony, next to him, reassured him not to worry too much. It's just a few protective suits. Right after that, they found another room. Inside the room, there were many broken items. You found a few faded photos that were still visible. After that, they found another room filled with documents. Based on the clues inside, they could guess this was the command center of the entire mine. But at that moment, behind them, Tony was standing outside the door. Suddenly, a strange figure appeared. A map was hanging on the wall. May analyzed it and realized that this is a secret command base of the Japanese army. It could very well be the experimental base for the heinous crimes of Japan's Unit 731. After hearing this from May, Captain Kevin and David started arguing. They believed there was no treasure here at all. David said he didn't know about this, but now they're deep inside. Arguing won't solve anything. Now they can only find another way out and quickly leave this place. They bring the mercenary wounded by the earlier grenade to lie on a wooden bed to rest. Then they split into 2 teams. One team stays here to take care of the injured. The other team is searching for an exit. But not long after, the injured mercenary hears a strange noise under the bed. He struggles to sit up and check. The result, in the next second. What on earth is that? It happened suddenly. To save his teammate, the mercenary Ben didn't think much. He jumped directly into the tunnel to chase after them. Even though they felt scared, Charlie and May also decided to enter the tunnel to help them. But by the time they both jumped into the tunnel, they couldn't see the others anymore. In the dark tunnel, occasionally, screams could be heard. Sometimes, shadows would pass by them. May trembled, gripping the knife tightly in her hand. And not far from there, they discovered the body of the mercenary who had just been dragged down. He died a tragic death. The two, terrified, decided to return to the room. But suddenly, they were knocked unconscious by a masked figure. The mercenary Ben jumps into the tunnel to save his teammate. He follows the shadow and crawls into a narrow, dark tunnel. He can only crawl forward with difficulty. But suddenly, something strange pulls him into another space. Here, countless skeletons are piled up, and some bodies have not completely decomposed. It seemed like a forewarning that this was indeed hell on earth. Ben suddenly became anxious. Suddenly, a shadowy figure appeared behind him. Ben heard a sound. He turned and killed it. He stepped forward to check. Immediately, a monster that looked like a walking corpse frightened him. But next, more and more sounds started coming from all directions. Ben became more alert. The next second, the monster covered his eyes. After a struggle, Ben slammed the monster to the ground, but at the same time, the images in his eyes also became more blurred. At this moment, he vaguely saw a group of monsters slowly approaching him. Ben could only fire his gun wildly to ease the fear in his heart. Soon, the gun ran out of bullets. No more weapons. Ben completely lost his ability to resist. Meanwhile, Charlie and May, who were knocked out, have just regained consciousness. But as soon as they wake up, Charlie is immediately pinned to the ground by a masked man. However, this mysterious person doesn't seem to have bad intentions. While the man is distracted, Charlie seizes the opportunity and starts attacking him, then pulls off his mask to see who he is. They just discovered that this is a demon with a wrinkled face and pale complexion. From this person's mouth, they learned he was a Japanese soldier in World War II, which also means he has been living here for 70 years. It turns out, he was also a victim of the Unit 731 experiment. He had once been injected with a small amount of that biochemical drug. That's why they could survive until now. They also learned from him that the monsters appearing in the tunnel were all prisoners of war injected with drugs. They were like walking corpses, without consciousness, turned into man-eating beasts. But this still isn't the scariest thing, because somewhere out there is still a team of upgraded armored warriors hiding. They are immortal. Their combat power is very strong. The most successful experiment here. Elsewhere, the team searching for an exit was also attacked by monsters. Fortunately, Captain Kevin and Tony acted in time. They managed to save David's life. After killing the monster, they searched for useful supplies here. Kevin gently touched the curtain beside him and caused everything to fall down. The scene behind the curtain took everyone by surprise. They saw a body hanging on the wall. It didn't look decayed at all. This also made them feel increasingly strange. Then, David found a syringe placed on the table. Inside, there was still half a tube of yellow liquid. David finally understood. This place is a laboratory. The monsters that just appeared and the person hanging on the wall are all test subjects. And there was no treasure at all. David's dream of treasure was shattered. Captain Kevin and Tony stood by, laughing at David, even though David was a bit disheartened. But on second thought, perhaps a drug that can turn humans into monsters is more valuable than any treasure. He told his girlfriend, "If you haven't found the treasure, then take this potion back." In order to find a way out, Kevin and Tony pulled open a metal door, and what was inside was the beginning of their nightmare. They activated a switch here, which awakened these immortal warriors. And these warriors, it's the army that the man spoke about. They are the immortal armored warriors. They advanced with swords in hand towards the two. The two decisively fired their guns to stop them, but the bullets didn't hurt them at all. The leading warrior slashed and wounded Kevin. At that moment, they realized something was wrong. They immediately turned and fled. Tony runs behind to protect the three of them. He stays behind alone to close the iron door, but suddenly, a sword pierces through him. He dies instantly on the spot. The remaining three quickly run into the tunnel, but this is also the monster's lair. Then Kevin finds the body of their comrade, but the monsters give him no time to grieve. A monster jumped out from behind and attacked David. Kevin quickly stepped up to help. Another monster rushed in to attack David's girlfriend. Luckily, she was quick. She picked up a sharp bone and stabbed the monster. Kevin also grabbed another sharp bone and stabbed the monster. Only then were they able to drive them back. The three took the chance to flee for their lives. After the three climbed out of the tunnel, they ran into Charlie. At this moment, of the 8 who went in, 3 had already died. David was severely injured and on the brink of death. Seeing David like this, his girlfriend secretly took out a vial of medicine. Wanting to turn a live horse into a dead one, they directly injected the drug into David. Not long after, the armored warriors caught up at the cave entrance. They hurriedly fled, but the Japanese soldier who had lived for 70 years chose to stay. However, at this moment, these armored warriors had completely turned into killing machines. Even the Japanese veteran in front of them, they also killed without mercy. To eliminate all the remaining people, they sought out the monsters and removed their hoods. This made them more aggressive. Then the monsters found them. They charged into attack. May picked up stones from the ground and threw them at the monsters. May completely lost control, smashing the monster's head into pieces. David's girlfriend didn't care about their lives. She carried David over her shoulder and ran. They hid in a room and locked the door. They had no choice but to find another way out. The girlfriend quickly found an exit. When she returned to take David and leave together, David suddenly opened his eyes wide. He grabbed his girlfriend's head and slammed it into the wall. She quickly passed away. It turns out the drug had side effects. It caused David to lose consciousness. May and the others ran to another room. The armored warriors were right behind them. The two men could only block the iron door, so May could find an exit. You tried your best to lift the manhole cover. Kevin let Charlie run ahead. He stayed behind to buy them time to escape. The armored warrior quickly broke through the iron door. Kevin knew he couldn't fight them off, but he still stood in their way. Even after all the battles he'd been through, he was no match for these immortal soldiers. With just one sword, he died a glorious death. May and Charlie jumped into the sewer. The armored warrior followed them. There was no other choice. May and Charlie could only dive underwater to find a way out. May quickly surfaced, but looked around and still couldn't see Charlie anywhere. She could only make it to the shore first, but she hadn't even caught her breath when a soldier lunged out of the water, slowly moving towards May. After that, more and more armored warriors emerged from the water. The film ends with this open scene. The director doesn't provide a clear conclusion, but it only leaves the audience in suspense. In the end, where will these armored warriors go? What storm will they initiate? The audience can only imagine. This could be an open ending for the director to make a sequel, but until today, there's still no news about a sequel to The Abyss. Alright, today's story ends here. Follow us